Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that changed my entire life. You cannot fix the world if you haven't fixed yourself first. Too many people are out here trying to build castles with broken tools. They're trying to love others when they don't even love who they see in the mirror. They're chasing validation, approval, and success before they've learned how to control their own mind. You've got to stop and realize everything you want begins with you. The moment you decide to think and work on yourself first, that's when life starts to make sense. Personal growth is the foundation for every success. Nothing changes until you do. Everything you are searching for, success, peace, love, recognition, respect, begins with you. You cannot expect life to have you rewards when you haven't done the work to become the person who deserves them. Growth is not about what happens outside of you. It's about what develops inside you. Too many people chase money, relationships, fame, or opportunities thinking that these things will change their lives. But if you don't grow mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, you'll lose every blessing that comes your way. The truth is, life doesn't get easier. You just get stronger, wiser, and more capable. Every obstacle that stands in your path is not there to stop you. It's there to shape you. It's trying to prepare you for the next version of yourself, the one who can handle the dreams you say you want. When you start working on yourself, you realize that success isn't a single destination. It's a lifelong process of learning, failing, adapting, and improving. You begin to understand that the external rewards people chase are simply reflections of the internal work they've already done. If you want a better job, become more skilled. If you want better relationships, become more understanding. If you want more peace, learn to control your thoughts. The key is not to chase outcomes, but to build yourself into the kind of person who naturally attracts them. When you invest in your personal growth, you're changing your mindset from, I hope it works out, to I'll make it work. You stop waiting for life to happen and start creating it. There will come a time when life tests your patience, your faith, and your strength. These are not punishments, they are lessons. Every struggle you go through is developing something in you. Character, resilience, or perspective. You can't grow if you stay comfortable. Growth means you will feel uncomfortable, uncertain, and sometimes even broken. But that's the cost of transformation. Think about it. When you go to the gym, your muscles hurt because they're being stretched beyond what they're used to. The same thing happens to your mind and soul when you start growing. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be worth it. When I talk about personal growth, I'm not talking about some motivational fantasy, the power of self-reflection where everything feels perfect. I'm talking about real growth. The kind where you have to face your fears, confront your bad habits, and take accountability for your choices. It's about looking in the mirror and being honest enough to say, I can do better. That's where change begins. Nobody can do that work for you. And nobody can read that book for you, pray for you, practice discipline for you, or build confidence for you. You've got to do it yourself. And the beautiful part is, once you start doing that, life starts rewarding you in unexpected ways. People begin to notice something different about you. Doors start opening. You start feeling lighter because you're not carrying the weight of excuses anymore. Growth also means letting go of the version of yourself that no longer serves you. You can't step into your future while holding on to your past. Some people stay stuck because they're too attached to who they used to be. They cling to old habits, old relationships, and old ways of thinking. But every level of your life requires a new you. The thoughts that got you here won't get you there. You've got to be willing to release the comfort of familiarity and step into the unknown. That's what growth looks like. It's scary, but it's necessary. Sometimes personal growth means being alone for a while. It means saying no to distractions, turning down invitations, and spending time in silence to understand yourself better. It's not isolation, it's elevation. When you take time to think, to plan, and to heal, you're not wasting time. You're investing it. You're becoming more grounded, more focused, and more aware. The world moves fast, and if you're not intentional, it will drown out your inner voice. But that voice, the one that pushes you toward your purpose, is the most important one you'll ever hear. Growth also demands discipline. You can't talk about change and then keep living the same way. You can't say you want to be successful, but keep hitting snooze on your alarm. You can't want to be healthy, but keep feeding your body junk. Real growth requires action. Every day you have a choice. Stay the same or take one step closer to who you want to become. And that step doesn't have to be huge. It could be reading a few pages of a book, practicing gratitude, learning a skill, or simply keeping your promises to yourself. Those small actions done consistently build a foundation of strength that nothing can shake. There's also a spiritual side to personal growth. You've got to understand that not everything is in your control. You can work hard, plan carefully, and still face delays. That's not failure, that's divine Tim. And when you're growing, you learn to trust the process, to keep your faith, even when results don't show up. Building inner confidence right away. Sometimes growth means being patient while God aligns the pieces. You're not being denied, you're being prepared. When you truly start growing, you'll notice that your priorities shift. What once excited you no longer matters. Gossip, competition, and comparison lose their grip on you. You begin to care more about peace than popularity. You start focusing on becoming valuable instead of being noticed. That's when life gets beautiful, because now your happiness doesn't depend on external things. It comes from knowing that you're evolving, becoming wiser, stronger, and more grounded every day. So nothing changes until you do. The world won't suddenly become easier. People won't suddenly become kinder. Opportunities won't just appear out of thin air. You've got to change the way you think, the way you move, the way you react. You've got to stop asking for an easier life and start building yourself into a stronger person. Because when you grow, everything around you changes. When you elevate your mindset, your life follows. When you raise your standards, your environment adjusts. That's the power of personal growth. It transforms everything from the inside out. Stop blaming others. Your transformation begins when you take full responsibility for your life. The moment you stop pointing fingers and start looking inward, your life begins to change in ways you never imagined. It's easy to blame your circumstances, your parents, your boss, your friends, or even the world for why things aren't going right. But the truth is, as long as you keep blaming others, you hand away your power. You can't control other people. You can't control the past. But you can always control how you think, how you act, and how you respond. That's where your strength lies. Every successful person in this world has faced setbacks, betrayal, and unfair situations. The difference between them and everyone else is that they didn't waste time complaining. They took ownership and decided to rise anyway. When you blame others, you trap yourself in a victim mindset. You start believing that life is happening to you instead of for you. And once you fall into that mentality, it becomes impossible to grow. You begin to make excuses for everything. Why you can't change, why you can't start, why you can't win. You justify failure instead of learning from it. Responsibility is what separates the strong from the weak, the successful from the stagnant. It's not about guilt or shame. It's about power. When you say, I'm in control of my life, you immediately become more focused, more disciplined, and more intentional. You stop waiting for people to fix things for you and start fixing them yourself. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you won't face problems. It means you'll stop giving them control over you. Maybe life dealt you a hard hand. Maybe people did you wrong. Maybe you started behind everyone else. But you have a choice. You can let that story define you, or you can write a new one. Every great comeback story starts with someone who refused to keep blaming others. They took ownership of their situation and said, I can't change the focus on your goals, not distractions past, but I can change what Jesus happens next. That single decision changes everything. When you own your story, you gain the power to rewrite it. You have to realize that no one is coming to save you. Nobody owes you success, peace, or happiness. The sooner you accept that, the stronger you become. The people you expect to help you may disappoint you. The situations you think will make you happy might not last. But when your happiness, motivation, and progress depend on your own effort, you become unstoppable. You stop begging for support and you start building your own foundation. You stop needing validation and you start trusting your vision. You stop living in reaction to what others do and you start living in alignment with your goals. That's how you build confidence. Not by what others give you, but by what you create for yourself. When you take full responsibility for your life, you begin to see everything differently. Challenges turn into opportunities. Mistakes turn into lessons. Rejections turn into redirections. You stop seeing failure as the end and start seeing it as a teacher. Every time something goes wrong, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That small shift in thinking will transform the way you approach every difficulty. Because when you take ownership, you stop fighting reality and start working with it. You accept what you can't control and pour your energy into what you can. That's how people grow. That's how they rise. Blaming others feels easy, but it keeps you stuck. It's a way of avoiding responsibility for the role you play in your own struggles. If you say your boss is the reason you're unhappy, you'll stay miserable until they change. If you say your childhood is the reason you can't succeed, you'll stay trapped in that story forever. But when you say it's on me, everything changes. Now your happiness is in your hands. Your success is your responsibility. Your growth is your duty. And that mindset makes you powerful beyond measure. Because the moment you take full responsibility, you realize you're not a victim, you're the author. Every person who has built something great, whether it's a business, a family, a legacy, had moments where they could have blamed someone else, but they didn't. They learned to use failure as feedback. They understood that life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're prepared to handle. When you stop blaming others, you start preparing yourself. You start improving your mindset, learning new skills, controlling your emotions, and making better choices. That's what growth looks like. Not perfection, but accountability. There's freedom and ownership. It may sound heavy at first, taking full responsibility for everything in your life, but it's actually liberating, because once you accept that you are in charge, you no longer have to wait. You don't need permission to start. You don't need someone else's approval to move forward. You can begin right where you are with what you have and build from there. You may not control how your story started, but you control how it ends. You decide how hard you work, how consistent you are, and how resilient you become. When you take responsibility, even your failures begin to work for you. You start to appreciate the process instead of fighting it. You stop trying to control outcomes and focus on controlling effort. You realize that growth happens not when everything is perfect, but when you learn how to adapt. The people who achieve greatness, growth starts in silence, are not the ones who avoid mistakes. They're the ones who take ownership of their mistakes and grow from them. They don't hide behind excuses. They use their failures as fuel. Taking responsibility also strengthens your relationships. When you stop blaming, you start communicating differently. You stop trying to prove you're right and start trying to understand. You listen more, react less, and show more maturity. People respect those who own their part in a situation. It builds trust, integrity, and credibility, whether it's in business, family, or friendships. Accountability makes you reliable. You become someone people can depend on because they know you don't run from responsibility. You embrace it. The world will always give you reasons to complain. There will always be unfairness, betrayal, and loss. But how you respond to those things defines you. You can let them break you, or you can let them build you. You can waste years blaming people who hurt you, or you can use that pain to push you. Life doesn't change because of what happens. It changes because of how you handle what happens. So instead of asking who's at fault, ask what you can do. Instead of saying they ruined my life, say I'm going to rebuild it. Responsibility is not a burden. It's your power. It's the key to growth, freedom, and peace. The moment you accept that your life is your responsibility, everything begins to move in your favor. You start taking control of your destiny. You stop being reactive and start being proactive. You start to realize that nobody can stop you but you. And when that awareness hits you, you understand what true transformation means. It's not about changing others. It's about changing yourself first. Because when you change, everything around you begins to shift too. Self-discipline, focus, and consistency attract opportunities naturally. You don't have to chase one amid for you when you've built yourself into someone who is ready for it. The world doesn't reward wishes. It rewards work. Everyone wants success, but only a few are willing to stay disciplined long enough to earn it. The truth is, talent is nothing without consistency, and dreams are meaningless without action. The people who seem lucky in life are usually the ones who were quietly putting in the work long before anyone noticed. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Focus is keeping your eyes on the goal when distractions try to pull you away. Consistency is repeating the process every single day until the results show. When these three qualities work together, they make you unstoppable. You see, most people quit because they want instant gratification. They want success tomorrow, but growth doesn't work that way. Progress is slow, invisible, and often uncomfortable. You'll have days when you question yourself, when it feels like nothing is moving forward, when no one notices your effort. But that's where consistency matters most. The discipline to keep going when it's boring, the focus to stay locked in. When everyone else is distracted, that's what separates the average from the exceptional. Every successful person you admire, whether it's in business, sports, or life, earned their position by mastering consistency. They didn't always feel motivated, but they stayed committed because commitment will take you where motivation can't. Focus is one of the rarest strengths in today's world. Everywhere you look, there's noise, social media, gossip, distractions, entertainment. Everyone's trying to do 100 things at once. But the truth is, divided effort, lessons from failure produces weak results. When you focus on too many things, you don't master anything. But when you decide to lock in on one goal, one vision, one mission, you channel all your energy in a single direction, and that's when power builds. Focus is saying no to everything that doesn't serve your purpose. It's not that those things are bad, it's that they're not helping you grow. You have to be willing to sacrifice short-term pleasures for long-term success. That's the price of greatness. And most people aren't willing to pay it. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom. People think being disciplined means restricting yourself, but it's actually the opposite. When you develop discipline, you gain control over your mind, your habits, and your future. You stop being a slave to emotions and impulses. You start making decisions based on purpose, not feelings. You may not feel like working today, but your discipline says do it anyway. You may feel tired, but your purpose says keep going. You may not see results yet, but your consistency says trust the process. That inner strength is what builds momentum. And once momentum starts, it's hard to stop. Consistency doesn't mean perfection, it means persistence. You'll fail, you'll have bad days. But consistency means you keep showing up. Success isn't about doing something amazing one time. It's about doing the right things over and over again until they compound. The small daily actions, reading, learning, improving your skills, working on your mindset, those are things that build the foundation for success. It's like planting seeds. You water them every day, even when you don't see anything growing. But eventually that seed becomes a tree. That's how success works. You plant effort today and harvest results tomorrow. When you're consistent, people start to notice. Opportunities that once seemed impossible start finding you because the universe, God, or whatever you believe in responds to preparation. You can't expect big blessings if you haven't built the discipline to handle them. Imagine asking for more money but not managing what you already have. Or wanting a successful business but not putting in the hours to learn. Or wanting respect without putting in the work to earn it. When you focus on developing discipline and staying consistent, you naturally attract the things that align with your effort. The right people, the right moments, the right doors. They all open when you're ready, not before. Focus and consistency also protect your energy. You stop wasting time on drama, gossip, and distractions. You stop chasing approval and start chasing growth. You learn that not everything deserves your attention. Every minute you spend focused on something meaningless is a minute stolen from your purpose. Discipline teaches you to value your time because you understand how precious it is. You start mindset shift. You are the project organizing your life around your priorities instead of your feelings. You plan your day. You create habits. You set standards. And when you live with that kind of structure, success stops being random. It becomes predictable. Many people dream big but lack follow through. They start strong but give up too soon. They post about their goals, talk about change, but never do the work behind the scenes. That's why discipline and consistency are rare. They require you to be quiet, humble, and patient. They require sacrifice. You might lose friends. You might miss out on parties. You might have to wake up earlier, work longer, or fail more times than you expected. But those sacrifices are temporary. The rewards are permanent. When you finally reach your goals, when people see the success you built, they'll call you lucky. But luck is just what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The truth is, your dreams don't need more emotion. They need more structure. You can be passionate all day, but if you're not consistent, that passion fades. Discipline keeps that fire burning when excitement dies out. Focus keeps you moving straight when distractions try to pull you sideways. And consistency keeps you going when your progress feels invisible. These three qualities form the foundation of every great achievement. Without them, even the most talented person will fail. With them, even an average person can achieve greatness. Success doesn't chase noise. It follows consistency. The reason some people rise higher than others is not because they're smarter or more gifted. It's because they show up every single day. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't quit when it gets hard. They don't get distracted by what others are doing. They stay locked in knowing that the process itself is shaping them into someone powerful. When you're disciplined, focused, and consistent, you no longer have to beg for opportunities. They come looking for you because people notice consistency. Employers, clients, and mentors notice effort. The world opens doors for those who prove they can handle responsibility. So if you want to attract success, stop chasing shortcuts. Build your discipline. Protect your focus. Stay consistent. Even when no one is watching, even when no one claps for you, keep going. Because those quiet seasons of hard work are the ones that prepare you for everything you've been praying for. One day you'll look back and realize that all those early mornings, all those long nights, all that persistence, it wasn't in vain. You weren't just working, you were becoming. And that's what true success is. Not something you chase, but something you grow into through discipline, focus, and consistency. Comparison kills progress. Focus on your own journey and become better every single day. One of the biggest reasons people never reach their full potential is because they waste too much time looking at what everyone else is doing. They compare their chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20 and start feeling like they're behind. But the truth is, you're not behind. You're on your own timeline. You're not supposed to move like them, look like them, or achieve things the same way they do. Your path is different, your pace is different, and your purpose is different. When you finally understand that, peace enters your life. The moment you stop comparing and start focusing on your own growth, you begin to see how much potential you really have. Comparison steals your joy, your confidence, and your focus. When you measure your success against someone else's, you rob yourself of gratitude for how far you've come. You start feeling unworthy. Even when you've made real progress, the truth is, no matter what stage you're in, someone will always seem ahead of you and someone else will always be behind you. That's just how life works. So why waste time comparing when the only person you should be competing with is the person you were yesterday? The goal is not to be better than anyone else. The goal is to be better than you were last week, last month, last year. That's how true growth happens. One day at a time, one taking daily action step at a time. When you live in comparison, you lose clarity. You forget who you are and what you're working toward. You start chasing other people's dreams instead of your own. You might see someone succeed in business and suddenly think you need to start one, two, or you see someone living a certain lifestyle and start believing you're failing because you're not there yet. But what if that's not your calling? What if your journey requires more time, more learning, or a completely different path? You'll never find out if you keep copying someone else's blueprint. The greatest mistake you can make is trying to be like someone else when you were created to be unique. There's something you can do, a difference you can make, a light you can bring that nobody else can. Focusing on your own journey doesn't mean ignoring others. It means learning without losing yourself. You can admire someone's success without feeling small. You can celebrate someone's win without doubting your own potential. When you shift your mindset from jealousy to inspiration, you start growing instead of comparing. You start asking, I'm not going to learn from this instead of, why not me? And that small change in perspective turns envy into motivation. You stop feeling behind and start feeling grateful for the process you're in. The truth is, comparison comes from insecurity. When you're unsure about your worth, you start using other people as mirrors to define yourself. You look at their progress and start questioning yours. But when you build confidence in your abilities, you no longer need to compare. You just work. You wake up with purpose, not pressure. You understand that real success is not about winning a race, but running your own race well. Some people reach their goals early, some reach them late. But timing doesn't determine greatness. Effort and consistency do. It's better to move slow in the right direction than fast in the wrong one. Social media has made comparison even more dangerous. You scroll through highlight reels of other people's lives, not realizing that most of what you see is filtered and staged. People post their victories, not their struggles. They show the finished product, not the process behind it. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's best moments. And that's not fair to you. The truth is, everyone's fighting a battle you can't see. Everyone's trying to figure it out. The difference is, some people do it quietly while others show only the beautiful parts. So stop letting the illusion of someone else's life distract you from building your own reality. When you focus on your own journey, you start to see how powerful your small steps are. Maybe you haven't achieved everything you want yet, but you've grown, you've learned, you've overcome challenges that used to break you. That's progress. Sometimes growth isn't about big wins. It's about quiet improvement. It's about handling situations better, thinking more positively, or learning to let go of what doesn't serve you. That's the kind of progress that doesn't always get applause, but it builds strength that lasts. Becoming better every single day doesn't mean doing something massive. It means Steve Harvey's closing advice, choosing progress over perfection. It's about showing up for yourself consistently, even when no one notices. Read a few pages of a good book. Exercise for a few minutes. Reflect on your goals. Practice kindness. Improve your mindset. Each small action adds up. And over time, those tiny steps create big transformation. The problem is, people often quit because they don't see results fast enough. But you have to remember, growth is slow and silent before it becomes visible. The tree doesn't grow overnight, but it does grow every day. When you stop comparing, you free yourself from unnecessary pressure. You stop rushing your process. You stop thinking you're failing just because someone else reached a milestone before you. Everyone's life moves at its own pace. Some people peak in their 20 seconds, others in their 40 seconds or 60 seconds. There's no deadline for greatness. As long as you're growing, learning, and becoming a better version of yourself, you're on the right path. Every day is another opportunity to improve, to speak kinder, work smarter, love deeper, and think stronger. That's what success really is. Consistent self-improvement. Comparison blinds you from your blessings. You can't appreciate what you have when you're too busy looking at what others have. Gratitude is the cure for comparison. When you start focusing on what's going right in your life instead of what's missing, you attract more things to be grateful for. Gratitude shifts your perspective from "I'm not there yet" to "I'm on my way." It allows you to enjoy the journey instead of constantly judging yourself. Because happiness doesn't come from reaching a destination. It comes from knowing you're growing toward it. So focus on your own lane. Your journey might be hard or slower or different, but that's okay. Every struggle you face is shaping you into the person you're meant to become. Don't rush the process. Respect it. The person you admire today once stood where you are now, uncertain, hungry, and trying to figure it out. The difference is they stayed consistent. And that's what you need to do too. Keep your eyes on your goals, not on their timeline. Keep improving yourself, not proving yourself. Keep showing up even when it's hard. Because one day, someone will look at your journey and say, "I wish I was there." That's the beauty of growth. It's not about being the best. It's about becoming your best. Every day you focus on your path. You move closer to your purpose. And when you do that, comparison no longer matters because you'll be too busy becoming everything you were meant to.